All right, discussions in Canvas. So, discussions are really useful for kids to have conversations with each other. They can brainstorm ideas, they can do debates in class, they can discuss independent readings or whatever they're doing. It's a great way for kids to interact, especially the ones that don't necessarily like to raise their hand in class. The ones that won't always talk out loud in the group will often write paragraphs and paragraphs in their online discussion boards. So if you want to use an online discussion board within Canvas, you can come over to discussions here in the navigations on the side. And this is where all of the discussions that you've created and done as a class are. This is where you can create new discussions. You can pin things to the top so that it's always available to be found. I use these discussions a couple of times in the semester. It's not something that I use a ton because I like to kind of mix up the way that we do discussions in class, but it is a really good tool for especially like small groups or like lit circles when everybody has a different topic or a different book to discuss. Or sometimes I will use them if we have like a virtual day or if they've been reading something independently. It's a good way for them to work independently on a discussion that we're not necessarily having in class. To create a new one, you're going to come up here to the blue button and hit discussion. This will let us create a brand new assignment. We're going to give it a title. Let's just say practice. And then this is where you get to type in the content for the discussion. Like, what's your discussion going to be about? You add the context, you add relevant information, anything that you want them to be aware of or to read before they do the discussion. So we'll just put in the question, how are you today? So this is like every other written assignment or any other written component in Canvas. You have all of your editing tools up here. You can add links, you can add pictures, you can add media, documents, you can embed things from your drive, you can embed things from outside your drive, anywhere from the internet. You have an embed code. You can make this as complicated or simple as you want it to be. What do you want available to the students? What kind of relevant information for the discussion? Once you've written out your discussion questions and your information and all that other stuff, this is where we get to look at the settings. So if you have more than one section of a class, maybe like second period and third period and fourth period, you can assign it to just one of those classes and they'll only be able to talk to each other. Or you can assign it to all three of your classes and they can talk to each other between classes. So like your second period people and your fourth period people, they can converse together if you assign it to all of your sections, which I kind of like because they get used to hearing the perspectives within their own classroom, but sometimes they don't discuss those same topics with all of their peers within across multiple classrooms. So I think it's kind of cool to assign things to all sections, but you can limit it if maybe only one class is doing this particular assignment. You can add other attachments, other files to go along with a document. That's up to you. Threaded replies. I really like this feature in particular because this means that the students can reply specifically to certain people. Their reply isn't just a long wall of text that they see. It'll go directly under the person they're replying to. So you can see like who specifically that reply or that post was meant for. Who are they replying to? I also really especially like this post where they have to make a post before they can see others replying to the discussion posts. Now that means that, they have to come up with their own ideas first. They can't just say, oh, Jimmy made a really good point. I'll just kind of reword his and that'll be my point too. I think it leads to much more unique perspectives when they have to post before they can see what anyone else is saying. Podcast feed is a setting that will allow them to basically export their replies in podcast format. You can download it on other podcasting apps like Apple Podcasts, or I don't know if Spotify will take it or not, but you can, if you're doing replies as like audio files or as video, you can send it out and they can download it as an actual podcast. Usually when I do these in class, they're graded. I'm just going to unclick these for brevity's sake. When I do the grading, I can assign points, I can tell it what category to be in, just like any other general assignment setting. I can set due dates, things like that. Usually my discussions in class are a form of homework or their classwork, maybe when I'm out and I want them to discuss with each other, but I have a sub who may not know what I'm what I'm doing, so I want to give them a participation grade for the day. You can set them to be graded. You can also allow liking. This is where they can like each other's posts. It allows a little bit of like social media style interaction. So maybe you tired of kids just typing, "Oh, I agree, great job," as their replies. If you hit like, that just kind of simplifies that process and tell them, okay, you can like their post. Now give me a constructive reply. So there's all kinds of settings that you can add there. You can set it to be a group discussion. Groups, you can arrange groups within your people section over here. You can create working groups for them and they can do within the groups. You can set availability. When do you want them to be able to access the discussion? When do you want the discussion to close so that they can't access or reply anymore? These are really helpful. I'm going to put on graded here just because I want to show you there is a rubric available. If I save this here, right, once you're here, you've created the discussion. It's almost ready to go. I can click here and I can add a rubric to this discussion. So maybe you want the kids to have, how many times did you post? How many times did you reply? What was the quality of your replies to others' posts? You can create whole rubrics here so that they can see like what is expected, give them some guidelines. It's a really great feature. I like to have a general like discussion board rubric that I use. You can create your rubric every time, or once you've created it, you can find it again later, existing rubrics. And I have like one general discussion rubric that I will use over and over and over again, so they kind of know what to expect when they're working on these things. All these other settings here, you can close the comments. Maybe you still want them to be able to see the post, but you don't want them to be able to add anything more to it. And you can look at all your posts and replies. You can delete as it goes. Let's take a look at what does this look like in practice. So in one of my other classes, this is a discussion that I had created. They were discussing Beowulf. They had a couple of questions comparing various other readings they had done to our Beowulf story that we had been reading. These are some student replies. If you'll see, there's a little open circle. This tells me that I have read it, I have scrolled through, I have looked at it. As you go through, all of these, because they are connected, these are the threaded replies. They are replying to this first poster. When I get down a little further, you see the blue circle, oh, just turned white. That means that I have scrolled down far enough to read it. So all of these people were replying to this first post. So this is what it looks like kind of once students have replied. With this gap here, this means that this is a second person who had posted. So she would have posted before she saw anyone else. So she has given her answers to the questions, and then these people below have replied to her. Once the students have time, they're doing all of their grading, or doing all of their replying, they can scroll through, they can see, they can answer. When I am done with it, I'm ready to grade it, I can look at it from this page. I can just scroll down and see everyone's replies, but sometimes if you've got a bunch of kids, it's sometimes hard to keep up with, well, who posted, who replied, did they reply the 2 times they were supposed to, that kind of thing. You can look at this discussion in SpeedGrader. So this is the grading platform within Canvas. If I click SpeedGrader for this assignment, it will open up here. Well, of course, this first student didn't do the assignment, so it's blank for him. But if we go to our second student, let's take a look at what grading the assignment can look like. If you want to go through and see the whole assignment kind of as it exists, so like read the post and then read all the replies to that post, you can just scroll down on the post itself. But on SpeedGrader, you can see for each student, what are the replies that they made. So I can see this is his original post. I can see his 2 replies that he made to other students, and it's obviously very obvious which is his post and which is his replies based on the requirements of the assignment. And then because I attached a rubric to this assignment, I can see over here how he was graded for his particular replies. So if I click View Rubric, this is the grading. All I have to do is click as I'm reading. Yep, you got full credit for this question. you were not thorough enough for this one here based on those particular replies. And once you've gone through the rubric, it will automatically calculate their grade, and then I can send this grade directly over to the PowerSchool or the gradebook or wherever the learning management system keeps its scores. So you can see all of your grading up here. Students did pretty well. It was almost an 80% for those that completed the discussions. And in general, this is what the students see, and then they will see their final score that you've scored for them. They can see the rubric later in their own personal gradebook and when they pull up the assignment later.